You got Tua and 4 wide receivers, and you're going, "Oh my God, what the heck do I do here?" That's the scary part to me. Is now they throw some creativity into the offense, and a guy that can. That guy doesn't miss a pass. I mean, his passes.
My key along
Dilfer today. Yeah, I was listening to Trent Dilfer today, who runs a camp, a football camp called Elite 11. And he said when Tua came to his camp when he was like 16 years old, they were amazed because he never missed a pass. His passes never hit the ground. It's like, oh my gosh. And so those guys weren't surprised at all at what's happening because they knew how good he was. But it's amazing. I mean, I look at him. I look at Patrick Mahomes, what he's doing at Kansas City right now. That arm strength and that vision, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't know how you beat Alabama because their defense is still as good as it's always been. And now they're putting up 60 points. I mean, I'm interested to see if Jimbo Fisher and his staff has any answer for that this week. Now A&M physically is better than Ole Miss. They've got better athletes than Ole Miss does. But man, you better bring it because Alabama's just they're tough. So I'm interested to see how this season goes. I mean, Notre Dame, I agree with you. Except first of all, I agree with you tonight, James. I don't know. This is a very rare event tonight. Notre Dame's been unimpressive. I mean, come on. Michigan played a horrible game and only lost by 7. I mean, Michigan was inept. Ball State by 8 and Vanderbilt by 5 points at home. I mean, come on. I mean, this team better start playing well because Wake Forest has a good offense. I mean, physically, of course, are not as daunting. Then they've got Stanford. Then they've got Virginia Tech. I mean, these guys, Notre Dame better strap it on. I think they're overrated. I don't think they're ranked 15 in the country. Not for my eyeball test. No, I think UCS better than they are.
I pretty much agree there.
Eyeballs, I'm just looking at the games.
Fellas, I want to take a second here.
USF is better than they are.
Fellas, I'm going to take a quick second here and just welcome everybody in that is now watching and listening to us on Facebook Live. Thank you for listening in. And for those of you that decided to hang on and continue to listen to the show on Spreaker, reminding everybody to go download the free Spreaker app. It's Spreaker, just like speaker, extra R. Download the app. You can listen to the full 3 hours of the show there each and every week. And also it syndicates us over on SoundCloud and YouTube and everything like that. So those of you that are over on Spreaker and want to get in the conversation, the lines are closed. So at 11 o'clock, there's no more phone calls that come in, but you can get on the message board over on Facebook and message in any questions or comments you have. Keeping up with most of them. So see David usually calls in. He's logged in over there. We got Manuel in Nebraska was listening in over there. There's a bunch of people on Facebook Live right now. So I just want to take a quick minute there and thank them for tuning in via the Facebook Live. So let's continue kind of going down this week. The top 25 didn't change. About a third actually did change. Or 3 new teams, but the biggest mover, the 2 biggest movers of the week were 3 is LSU moving up 6 spots to number 6. Oklahoma State, after a pretty thorough job of beating Boise State, moves up 9 spots to number 15. And Wisconsin, losing to BYU, drops 12 spots down to number 18. I know we said probably because of their ranking, that's maybe one of the most significant losses of the weekend. BYU did crack the top 25 after that win as well. Coming into this week, I think obviously we're all pretty secure on Alabama winning regardless of who they're going to play this week. Is there, again, A&M should be a tough game, but outside of that, what big matchups are you guys really looking forward to watching this weekend as far as the ranked teams? TCU, like you said, plays Texas in Austin, coming off of a loss, and Texas off of a big win.
Pretty interesting game.
Miami's playing FIU in Coral Gables, so your Virginia Tech plays Old Dominion. I don't know if the fan bases are watching it.
Well, the only thing I will say about that game, I'll say one thing about that game though, because I'm not only did I go to Virginia Tech, but I grew up in Virginia Beach, which is next to Norfolk, which is where Old Dominion is. And so this is a really big game for that region because it's the first time that Old Dominion's ever hosted a team like Virginia Tech, and the Old Dominion's new to they came in as
a basketball
Division school, and then they went to FCS. They're more well known for their basketball. Now they're an FBS school in Conference USA. So that's a very significant event in Tidewater. Now, hopefully, it won't be significant from a football perspective because number one, Old Dominion, which was a bowl team 2 years ago, isn't as good as they were 2 years ago. But it's a big event because it's one of those things that we never thought would happen, is that Old Dominion would, number one, have a football team, number two, host Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a cool thing for the state of Virginia. But other than that, from a football perspective, it better not be an event. If it is, I'll not be happy Saturday night. But it is for Old Dominion and for their fans. And I have a lot of friends because I went to high school down there. I have a lot of friends that went to Old Dominion. Graduate. My sister went to Old Dominion and transferred to William & Mary. Some of my good friends at Virginia Tech went to Old Dominion and transferred to Virginia Tech. So a lot of ties to the region. But hopefully that won't be. It won't be but here we go. I mean, Power 5 against Group of 5. Who knows? I mean, they better come to play because they've all got athletes. That's what I think. That's what the last couple weekends have shown me is that all of these teams have athletes.
Old Dominion should not even be anywhere close to a. This is one of those ones I would say, in the past, but this year Old Dominion hasn't won a single game. Liberty boat raced them 52-10 in the first game. FIU beat them by 8, and Charlotte, the 49ers, beat them by 3 last week. So from the body of work, this should not be a close game at all.
No, especially considering how Tech's looked this season. Even if we didn't get to play ECU, but I was impressed by Virginia Tech's coming back after a really short week because Tech played Florida State on Monday night. Had to come back against William & Mary on Saturday. Now, true, William & Mary's an FCS school and all that, but that's a really short week. And they came out there and just took care of business right away. So I'm looking forward to Tech taking care of business. But that's not on the radar of one of the top games of the weekend. I will agree with that.
So,
but I do like Stanford, Oregon. I like that game, man. That's going to be a good one.
Now Mississippi State heads to Kentucky.
3 games.
Where do you guys think of that. I mean,
Yeah,
Kentucky is
that's another one that's going to be close.
yeah.
That one there, almost didn't see that one for the SEC. Right now, they have Mississippi State favored by 10 points. I'm not sure about all that. I don't think they'll cover. If they do, I'm going to be fairly surprised about that. There's one game to look out for. Two games in the Big Ten that I'm looking at. Michigan State at Indiana.
Yes.
That's going to be one thing to look out for. Michigan State, while they did have like a lot of returning starters coming back this year, they weren't necessarily, they had that close game against Utah State, and they had their loss against Arizona State. So I'm not sure, where they are as far as like as a team, because it wasn't really like they, scored that many points against Arizona State anyway. So I'm not sure how they're going to fare against Indiana. That may be a very close game there.
How is Michigan State still ranked?
They were preseason really high. That's why.
They're still ranked, but Arizona State is not. Even though State lost.
You think Arizona?
The next one to look out for is Wisconsin against Iowa. Wisconsin's on the road coming off that loss to BYU, going up against Iowa. It's a night game, and we know Iowa is a night game. So that's another trap game there for Wisconsin. You also have in the Pac-12 Arizona State, Washington. We got to see where Arizona State is.
Yeah.
At this point, against
that.
Washington, I thought, Washington kind of like struggled a little bit against Utah, but Utah kind of blew a lot of scoring opportunities. Of course, we have
I thought James. I thought Utah had a chance to win that game too, and they just seemed to. Every time they had a shot, it seemed like they just did.
Yeah, they mess up. Yeah, you had that defensive lineman that basically had the Leon Lett type of play after the interception, and they still couldn't score within 5 or 10 yards, and that kind of like was the story of the game for that. The other thing that I'm watching now for that's not in the top 25 is the annual rivalry game between the Gators and the Vols. And this time it's a night game in Knoxville, which is kind of weird. Usually we kind of like expect Florida and Tennessee to be, one of those marquee type of games on, CBS 3:30. But, now that has been taken over by Texas A&M and Alabama. So they put in this game at night. So I'm looking to see if Tennessee could beat those sorry old joke of a program hitters. So there you go.
A couple weeks ago when
so you're
Watley,
not biased or anything.
Well,
Watley, you're not biased or anything. So that's good.
Our unapologetic Gator fan, Tony Watley, actually picked his Gators to lose to Tennessee.
He picked them to lose to Tennessee, but he picks the Gators to beat Georgia, though.
Yeah, to beat Georgia and Kentucky.
Yeah,
and
good luck with that.
I said no. They're going to lose to Kentucky. They're going to lose to Georgia. They're going to lose to Missouri. And again, no. Like I said, I still think the Gators have 5 losses in them this season.
I'll say 6. Wait, hold
at
on.
Least,
well, I ain't looked at their schedule, but I see 6.
Kentucky. They got Tennessee this week. Next week's Mississippi State, LSU.
So not a good start for you're saying it's not a good start to the Dan Mullen era. Is that
Vandy.
what you're telling me?
I said they have a good chance of losing to Vandy. They'll lose to Georgia. They're going to lose to Missouri. South Carolina, they lost to last year. Let's see what happens this year. Idaho is probably a safe game, but FSU, again, at the end of the year, I don't know. FSU might try to pull something out of their rear end. Maybe Willie has people getting on the bus again.
Willie better find some offensive firepower.
You know, his teams never do well
Francois
in his first year.
Francois on an island back there. I mean, Florida State has been so underwhelming. I mean, they look so bad.
Well, the offensive line is terrible.
They were.
And the offense is so like Willie's playbook is very complex. He needs to add some more nuance to it. He needs to dumb it down. He needs to simplify it some more. But if you're doing that and you don't have blocking too, I mean, then this is what you get. You know, I picked Syracuse to beat FSU last weekend, but that's because Syracuse plays better football. No, it's not. I don't think it was a stretch at all. So you know, again, FSU struggled last year, and they lost a lot of talent last year. But at the same time, the biggest struggle they had last year was the offensive line. They didn't bring anybody else in to really fix that problem. So your better quarterback comes in and starts. Now what? He's running for his life. You don't have, that's the thing is like, I would think that they'd be running a lot more RPO because the thing is like, so the run pass option. So essentially in the run pass option, what they do is the blocking scheme is run. They just block run, and then they decide if they're going to run it or pass it based on that, which, some coaches are getting upset because essentially you have illegal linemen downfield when the ball is passed, but, they kind of let it go because it's an option play. So, you're able to get blocks on longer because usually as a defense, if you see run, you stay home and you play run. But if they decide to throw it, then you get back in coverage.
But forget all that schematic crap. Florida State was losing to Stanford in the third quarter of that game because physically they were getting beaten up. That is not a tough football team. That is a weak, physically right now, inept football team.
Oh, right on.
They don't look good. They're not playing well. They're not playing hard. They're not playing hard. They're not playing with energy. And they should athletically. This is Florida State. Athletically, they should be Stanford. Are you kidding me?
They haven't bought into Willie Taggart.
Lucky to win that game.
That's the problem.
Well, that's a coaching issue. That's a Willie Taggart problem.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's the cats on the team problem.
I'm gonna make this. Hold on. I'm gonna make this absolutely clear. Jimbo Fisher screwed up that program, and I'm putting it light because what you saw over the past few years was basically a mask of what the Florida State program has been for the past 10 seasons. Now, what we have to look at is this, right? When Jimbo Fisher came in, he basically came in at 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
That squad that they had in 2013 was basically one of the most talented squads that you probably would have had out there for the past 3 or 4 years, right? Just about every single player in the starting 22 ended up on an NFL team. You don't really see that from like any program. But in contrast, from that year to the next year, you had actually a fairly bad team. They just because they were Florida State, that was the only reason why they were able to get as far as they did to the BTS or to the college football playoff that year. But once they got to that college football playoff, they got ran. Why? Because it ran into a team that was more disciplined, that had been just about as athletic, that had just about been as quick as Florida State, but also knew how bad that team was. And the problem is they never really built on that in the next couple of seasons. And you're seeing what the results are right now. You're seeing a bad team. You're seeing a program that doesn't have good recruits, didn't really have that many good recruits to begin with. Yeah. So while you do have a couple of athletes sprinkled in here and there, if you look at their overall program, they're not like one of those teams or programs that have top recruiting classes. Clemson's been beating them out for the past 3 or 4 years. So when you see that, then you're ending up seeing what's happening right now. You're seeing them losing to Syracuse the way that they lose to Syracuse. You're seeing them lose to Boston College, and lost to Boston College. You're seeing them struggle against a Stanford team. Why? Because they really aren't, they're not really that good and haven't really been that good. And that's why Jimbo failed out, because he knew that team and that program wasn't good, and he didn't want to shoulder the blame for it. Now everything is falling on Willie Taggart, when Willie Taggart, of course, Matt, you saw what Willie Taggart was able to do within 3 or 4 years at USF. And USF was not really in a good position with Skip Holtz there. Not even close.
Yeah.
And then they were able to turn that around and have the season that they did.
Willie Taggart won 6 games in his first 2 seasons at USF. Then because he started in 2013. So by 2015, he actually then had the program to where it started playing respectable golf. They blew out FAM. I think it was a really close game at halftime against Florida State. Maryland looked like a game they should have won. They ended up losing a close game to Memphis.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Beat Syracuse, beat UConn, beat SMU, lost to Navy, another game. It got away from them. East Carolina, they beat Temple. Temple was ranked then. And that's when they had, what's his name, the running back that was in the Heisman talk, Casey. They beat Cincy, and then they beat UCF. Again, that was UCF's year that they were. That was it wasn't a good year for them. And then they lost to Western Kentucky in the Miami Beach Bowl, and then entered 2016 where they were actually ended up ranked at a point. It had only 2 losses, and that was to Florida State and to Temple again. And they actually beat South Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl. And then 2017, obviously, new coach. They actually, was able to kind of maintain that, and only ended up having 2 losses last year to UCF, who went undefeated, and to Houston, who have played tough football the last few years. So again, he really did a lot to build up that USF program. Had he not gotten offers to